Hi, good morning. This is Cindy from Two Crafty Little Sisters. For today's project, we are going to be making this card using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers. I bought the set of 36 and it's got more colors than I think I'll ever need, but it's a good set, I think, to start out with. I used the Avery Elle Floral Bouquet stamp set. And this stamp set I really like because you can color it all different ways. I've done watercoloring, I've done colored pencils, I've done the Zig markers on watercolor paper. And for the saying, a little note to say, it came from, let's see, Penny Black, T for Transparent. And it's got, this set has some nice sentiments on it that I use for a lot of the cards I make. So there's that. So let's get started. The first thing I did to make this card was to cut the base card 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and folded it over. So there's our base card. For the little blue cardstock in the background there, I cut it 4 by 4 1/4, and then I can just adhere it to my cardstock, or my base card. There we go. We got that done. Now for the fun part, coloring this in. I took a piece of watercolor paper. I cut it 3 3/4 by 5 inches. The watercolor paper I do like to use is Strathmore Bristol. You can pick it up at any supply store and on Amazon. And I stamped the flower stamp using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and that's all I used on there. And to get this frame around there, I used some 3M masking tape, the blue stuff that doesn't have a lot of tack on it, and I just kind of eyeballed where I wanted the let's do this at the top first, where I kind of wanted just the square of color, frame of color to go. And I do have some masking templates that I use sometimes, but this time I decided just to wing it. And the reason I'm doing this now is because some of the stamp I want outside my background little frame. So we'll get started with that. For my background, I used 2 different colors, bright yellow and orange. So what I did was, and it's not scientific, I kind of just put some yellow where I wanted it to go. Because I'm going to use some water and my Zig brush marker to kind of move it around. And I didn't want it too, I didn't want it too thick, so I wanted to put some orange down here too, just to give it some color variation and depth. Then, there we go. I use my Zig brush marker. It has water on this side. This one's the small tip, and it's a good size for what I use it for. I like to have an acrylic block, kind of get the water started, and then have sometimes just a little And once you start moving it around, it kind of blends together. The watercolor paper, I think, helps to get it absorbed. And I just like the way that it kind of comes out sort of mottled looking. Gives it some, and you can push the color around. And just kind of, I think this would look really stunning too with a dark blue kind of a background. I haven't tried that yet. And then to add my little dots, let's see, I used the orange and I kind of made just a few dots here and there while it was still wet. And those spread around nicely. And there you go. There's the background. And then what I like to do is just peel the tape off and get ready to start coloring my flowers. I am still practicing with how to use these zig markers. Oops, I tore that off a little bit, but that's all right. But I have fun doing it, so that's okay. Here's my green, and what I like to do is just kind of start putting down some green color, and then using my marker, my brush marker, filled with water, just kind of move it around so it's. This is a more brilliant coloring technique than watercolor. It's quite vivid. But you get the idea. And I like to work at one section at a time so that the paper doesn't get too wet. And I like the way that this technique is very forgiving. Yeah, you get the idea for the green. So I'll move on to a blue flower. Oops. Got that green in there. enough water on there and it'll blend right out. It's very forgiving. It's just a little more darker. And there you go. You kind of got the idea. Of how I did colored in the cards using the markers. And so I went around the whole card, did that, and then just adhered it to the front and put my stamped sentiment on there, and then had a pretty little card that I could send to a friend. So hopefully this gave you some ideas on how to use the Zig real brush markers. I really like using them, and on the watercolor paper they come out just gorgeous, and they make just such a cute little card. Brilliant and vibrant colors and easy to use. So thank you for joining me. I hope it inspires you to try these markers out. I really like them, and they are a nice addition to my colored pencils and my watercolor pencils and ink pads. So thank you for joining me. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.